the integration and fulfillment of their needs, which is why they joined the community. Because
in the first
sometimes,
place.
that's why they joined in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So, but there are many instances where, especially for communities who have just started or still, trying to find the groove on how to go about it. Sometimes that is the one being neglected, especially if there's not enough people to help get the community rolling. Because of course, let's
Yeah.
admit it, community is not just a Facebook group. It's if you're gonna really look into it, it's really a business on its own. There's a lot of process and systems in place that should be constantly running or churning, whatever is needed to be.
Like you can't keep people in especially for paid memberships, like, right, like you
Yeah.
can't keep people inside the community if they're not getting what they need.
Yes, that's right. That's
So
right.
that's why, and I understand, like, having a community, you do have to fulfill those needs, and there's a lot of processes and systems in place so that you can
Mhm.
deliver what your members
That's right.
need.
That's right.
Hey everyone,
Welcome to Outsourcing and More with
Penny and
Francis. We're glad you're listening because we've got a lot to talk about. Business, tech, investments, business mobile apps, web platforms, and all the latest trends in the outsourcing industry and more.
we'll give you tips, insights, and strategies on how to navigate the world of entrepreneurship and the gig economy.
So if you own a business, whether it's big or small,
A brand new startup,
or you're part of the huge outsourcing community as a tech professional, a VA, or an employer,
better start subscribing because this is the podcast for you.
so let's start achieving more. Hello and welcome to another episode of Outsourcing and More. You are here today with me, Francis,
And my name is Penny.
and together
And Francis,
we're
what is our topic today?
we are definitely excited to bring you guys one topic that we're so excited about, and we hunted down the perfect guest. Today we're talking about the business of community, like how brands and organizations can build authentic, purpose-driven communities, and for that,
Yeah, so as Francis said, we invited the best guest for this. So our guest for today is Genesis Reunico. So Genesis is a pioneer in the online outsourcing industry. He actually has a book about how to be an online Filipino freelancer. So he has been doing this since 2010. He's actually also traveled all over the Philippines, conducting trainings and workshops aimed at helping individuals start their digital careers. Currently, Genesis is also leading a community called Network Outsourcing Agencies, so NOAA, which Virtua is a part of. And this is a community where its aim is to guide freelancers and aspiring entrepreneurs in building their own BPO or digital agency with a mission. Of course, there's always a vision, is to create more job opportunities for Filipinos. So, welcome, Jen,
woo!
to the
Hello,
dark side.
Genesis.
No.
It has
Hello,
been a
Penny. Hello,
minute. We
Francis.
have been trying to get you in here, and we now have one of the best people in the industry I know who knows about community building. So I'm very excited. So welcome, Genesis.
Thanks for having me. It's been a long overdue session, and I'm happy to be here.
It has. So, Penny, um, two
So,
things. I may have known him longer, but you have, you have, you, you have, really been working closely together with
mhm.
Genesis. So I don't know, like,
maybe let's start
how
off
do you work?
with
Yes.
like Noah, right? Which is Virtua is a part of and is also a community. And when I found out about Noah and Genesis talked to us about Noah, it was something clicked, I think, for both of us, that we knew that this was something that had a lot of potential because we knew a lot of other people who wanted to create their own agencies.
Did your heart
And
skip a
so
beat, Penny?
so for context, so that's an inside joke. For context, most of the time applicants will send in their cover letters saying my heart skipped a beat when
When I
I
saw
when
your
I saw
job
your
description.
job post. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But well, technically it didn't, but it did. It was a very interesting idea, right? And I think Genesis, like, can you just give us a like a short I guess summary of why you came up with Noah and why you wanted to do a community?
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know if it can fit in a short story, but I'll try to actually, summarize it. Well, for one, of course, just like anyone who have a need for support or something like that and can't find it anywhere else, I'd rather make it or at least start it. So that's actually the main idea why I started Noah, but the journey really took a long time. But
Mm-hmm.
primarily, the main motivation back then is when I tried to really start my own digital agency, the challenge is really there's not enough people and information being shared out there
Mm.
on really how to go about it. And it's not like I'm not taking action. It's just that despite of all the action and knowledge that I know and some information that was shared to me, it seems that it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then starting to hear stories left and right about others who are trying it, failing it, or was able to cross that big gap of really how to
Mm-hmm.
survive. But on the other side, they're so bruised, so traumatized with the whole process that And I said there should be a much better way of doing so. So yeah, that's the short story. But the last push that really led me to, okay, let's get this started, is when I attended a conference in the US about digital marketing, and then there's a breakout session there on how to actually
Mm-hmm.
start an agency. And inside, I saw a lot of agency owners, basically seven-figure CEOs there, and they're the ones that are so generous. And I said, how come they're giving out all these information, and even their direct number, not through their corporate emails or number? And one even said to me that, hey, I heard about your plan. If you need any guidance or assistance, really, just here's my number. Call me anytime. don't
Mm-hmm.
don't call the office number. You'll not pass through my secretary. So those kinds
Mm-hmm.
of things. So, and that really inspired me. So when I came back, I said, okay, I'll start something like this in the Philippines. If no one's sharing, I understand it's business practice that you want to keep on your own. But in my case, for Noah, it's really about, opening the doors, because I know how difficult it is for others. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the eureka moment, should I say?
Yeah. So I mean, building a community isn't easy, right? It is like
Yeah.
you are helping a lot of people. Like apart from just building it, you're also helping people inside the community, and it's there.
Mm-hmm,
It
mm-hmm.
has its challenges, right? But it also has its
Yes.
own framework, which I think you call as pillars, right? For
Yes.
a
Yes. Yes.
community. So what are
Yep.
those
Yep.
pillars that you like when you're trying to form a
What are those
community?
pillars in Genesis's
Yeah.
head?
Well, all these pillars that I'll be sharing. These are just four pillars,
Mm.
or
Mm-hmm.
what we can also say an element that should exist in a community for it to really become a community as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, First, of course, the concept of membership. Okay, when we say membership, it's not just about you paying for it, uh, and having access to certain stuff. But bottom line, when we say membership, it's about having some level of exclusivity to it, that not
Yeah.
everyone can easily access whatever is inside that. So because there are, these things they call membership, but it's still an open membership that everyone, whether member or not, can actually benefit from it. So that's one, because many who would like to actually be part of a community would like to have that sense of pride that, hey, I'm part of this unique group community that not everyone
Yeah.
can easily join unless you meet certain criteria, or you pay a big amount of money, or whatever criteria that you put there. But of course, that's where most community starts. But the next part is, this is a bit of a challenge with, what I've noticed also from my experience, and also what I have observed with other community, is the fact that this is the second pillar, is for the members to actually have an influence on how the community will push forward. uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's quite tricky for someone starting a community, because of course you have a vision, you want it to go to a certain, work on a certain way. But when I say influence, is because of course people will own something that they know they really have a hand on how
Yeah.
it is
In
being built.
building. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So
there's a buy-in because
that's correct, that's
yeah,
correct.
part of this is your idea. Yeah. Okay.
Correct, correct. So they must have at least some form of influence on how the community can actually grow. or bottom line, it's all about, what do you need, something like
Yeah.
that, right? And how can we serve? But some also have other personal preferences on how they want to be served and those kinds of things. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's where it becomes a bit tricky, and that's where most communities that I have observed outside starts to have friction with their initial members, who are especially those who have helped them jumpstart the community, and of course they have a different way
So
of
there's
how they want
friction
it to go,
because, oh, because
because of
Because
course,
of a
yeah.
it's
different
not a
idea of
hive
how.
mind. It's not a hive mind. They're not always homogenous with their thinking.
Yeah,
Or
Yeah,
true.
is that
and that's
Mhm.
where the breakup happens, should I say. This is where the first stage of, I think we need to talk, and we those kinds of things. Of course, as a
Mm.
community builder, you should be the one still leading it at the end of the day, because in the eyes of all the members, you're still their leader. But
Yeah.
at least I guess the idea here is to make them be heard, with their inputs and ideas, and if there's something that can really be applied right away, then yeah, why not? Or maybe put it on a list of to be added sooner or later. So that's the second. Okay, I don't
Yeah.
want to dig deep into that. Third is,
Yeah.
of course, the most important part is the integration and fulfillment of their needs, which is why they joined the community. Because
in the first
sometimes,
place?
that's why they joined in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So, but there are many instances where, especially for communities who have just started or still, trying to find the groove on how to go about it. Sometimes that is the one being neglected, especially if there's not enough people to help get the community rolling. Because of course,
Yeah.
let's admit it, community is not just a Facebook group. It's If you're gonna really look into it, it's really a business on its own. There's a lot of process and systems in place that should be constantly running or
Like,
churning,
I mean,
whatever is needed to be.
like you can't keep people in, especially for paid memberships, like, right, like you
Yeah.
can't keep people inside the community if they're not getting what they need, right?
Yes, that's right. That's
So
right.
that's why, and understand, like, having a community, you do have to fulfill those needs, and there's a lot of processes and systems in place so that you can
Mhm.
deliver what your
That's
members
right.
need.
That's right.
Yeah.
The,
Right.
the the challenge with other communities that are growing fast is that
Mm.
in most cases, most of the systems are not in place yet. That's
Yeah.
why it's quite hard at some point. But if you're gonna keep on doing this, eventually you will have the gut feeling exactly how it works. But
Mhm.
right now, what I've noticed in the Philippines, most of the communities here are operating under the same, you know, path of growth or how they started, and that's why, you know, the pattern of, the growth, people leaving at some point,
Yeah.
the
I'm so
people who are with
excited to
them.
hear. I'm so excited to hear that in detail. So why don't we hear about the fourth and last pillar so we can get into
Yeah.
uh
Yeah,
To
we
yeah,
can
each of
get
these,
into
and
it.
then, yeah, do a
Yeah.
yeah.
deep
The
dive.
fourth bottom line is no other than shared emotional connection. This is where the
Mm.
the meetups, the experiences that you create for your members actually binds them together, and those kinds of things. Because if there's no shared emotion or shared journey, should I say, you will be just another community that they can be a lurker, and be there. But if you cross that virtual form of relationship into a more tangible physical, where you can interact with other people and build really a real relationship, real partnership, then that's what solidifies it and invites others. And we've seen that trajectory happen for Noah as well. That's
Hmm.
actually where I think Noah is quite strong at this point, with regards to the shared experiences that we're
Yeah, the
giving
shared
to the
experience with
activities that
their
we have.
mastermind dinners.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because especially so we'll dive into that, right? So let's start off with the
yeah.
first pillar.
Wait.
I don't want
Wait,
to
sorry. You
jump
would.
around. Mm.
Yeah, I think I have a question for that later because I noticed your pillars of community. Maybe it's there. Maybe it just didn't. Maybe I was just expecting it to come out in a different form. So yeah, okay. So membership, influence, fulfillment of needs, shared emotion. I was actually so excited to share. Like, oh my god, that's me. So for
What
you,
do you mean that's you?
hmm? No,
What do you mean
like
that's you?
when we were talking about each of the pillars, and then we were making those
Mm.
little intros, I was like, oh my god, that's me. Like, there was a need,
That's the reason
and I'm
why I'm here and I'm in this community. And yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you're in this community, or how did you stumble upon XYZ? So yeah, so I'll jump to the first part. So because I
Membership.
understand it is a pillar membership. A community can only thrive when it has members. So definitely a key part. Um, how would you define? Sorry. Where would you start in terms of, like, if you're a community builder? Like, do you start looking at boundaries first? Do you let everybody in right away and then just filter them out afterwards? Kind of like a big net. Is that how, like,
Okay.
if you
Well,
were starting a community,
Yeah.
how would you envision doing it, like free entrance, and then when you're inside, there's bayad to go out. Sorry, I'm spitballing.
well, it really it starts with, of course, you need to know exactly your purpose, why you want to build a community, because
Mm.
there's so many reasons why you want to have a community. I just had a
Uh-huh.
talk with another outsourcing community last night, and I am sure Pen knows this guy, and the concept there is, according to him, he's not really planning to build a community, but it will eventually become a byproduct of what he's doing. Because of course, if you're
Mm.
teaching people, eventually you will be able to develop a culture. You gather people in, and then you can easily call it a community. There's so
Right.
many angles to look into this, but if you're gonna look for, let's say, what is the first thing, I don't think there's a first step, but rather a first set of things that you need to go about before you move to the next step. First, of course, if there's really a need for that uh, community, or are you really going to address a pain point? In our case with Noah, of course, really it's the pain point that I started with, and telling people about this a community that would help you out. But there are
Mm.
actually also six business outcomes that can come out from a community that you can first start with. First, of course, some is primarily for customer support. We've seen that with big corporations like Apple, they
Yeah.
build community to actually help their user base. Of course,
Wait,
some
the
actually
Apple
build
community or the Apple developers? Or same, it's
the
probably same.
developers too.
Mm.
Primarily the developers, or any communities that was started primarily to hear people vent out their concerns and those kinds of things, right, and provide
Microsoft
support.
has
Or
Microsoft has that.
yeah.
Actually,
Or some,
a lot of companies right now does, like, they do have community boards. I would say, like, a
Mhm.
community
yeah,
Yeah,
boards
of
yeah.
for
power
customer support. Yeah.
users.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. And I think another outcome that coincides with just having a support community is the product innovation or the feedback area
Mm, yeah,
of
yeah,
that
yeah. The voice of
community,
the
and
customer.
it's kind of
Feedback.
bundled together. uh, and then of course the acquisition part, whether it's about pulling people in from top of the funnel down to the bottom of the funnel, those kinds of stuff. Then that, I think that's what's happening in most communities online right now, especially in Facebook, where they have a free group, and then they start to nourish people there, and then they post their
Mm.
offers and so on.
Yeah.
And
So what I'm seeing online is there's always like a free taste.
yes,
Right, like
that's right, that's right.
yeah, so either a free Facebook group, or sometimes a free
A
I
free
don't know,
ebook.
webinar. Yeah, a free
Mm-hmm.
ebook
True, true.
just so to whet, not exactly whet the probably whet the appetite, or at least give them a taste of what type of help they can get from the community.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
can filter people
A
there,
little
just like
Yeah.
teaser, if you
Yeah.
will.
yeah, that's right. Well, for them to see exactly if it's the right fit for them or not. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you will have the paid side of a community, and people who joined are actually eventually are not a real fit, and you were not able to really qualify them, then as they say, the strength of the community is also based on who is the weakest in that group. as they say. So you really have to filter out, especially on a if your community is more of a B2B setting.
Yeah.
The members should really be of value for others to be able to really see the value inside as well.
Which
So
brings
there.
me to like my experience with the Australian New Zealand Chamber of Commerce as well as
Mhm.
BNI. Although we're not part of BNI, but the Chamber of Commerce for like they did before we even paid, because there's no like free. Well, you can like you can still join their sessions, but pay
You can
to go to
join
Mhm.
those
you can
to the
join
sessions.
session. You're
Yeah,
prepaying each session.
yeah. So with they actually had a conversation with us first, like what are you about, how long have you been in business, who are your target people, and because they know that being part of the Chamber of Commerce there's also business matching, and
Mhm.
that's how they're kind of filtering people to join the chamber, is to find out who wants in. Like it's not just okay you pay you're in. It's not just like
Yeah.
that, because they want to make sure that you're
It can't
getting
be
something
just
out
that
of the
because
membership. Yeah.
it's easy enough to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know,
Mhm.
I know. And they
That's
can't do
the
business matching if they don't know you, right?
yeah, true.
um but I haven't heard like, I don't know how to go about this topic, but and understand that the free taste, like the free material, is like a is also qualifying members, right?
Mhm.
Qualifying
That's
members
right.
to join.
Yeah, I
Should you
think you
say
one
no?
way or the other you got that free taste somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah,
And what
it may
about
not
like
be.
people who want to be part of the community, but you're not so sure about? Should you say no? Or is there any part of building a community that you can say no to a member that
It really
wants?
depends on your strategy, especially if let's say you're about to sell a product.
Hmm.
uh, then you have to qualify really who these people who will be trying your product primarily
Hmm.
first. Allow me to use the
Sure.
word
Yeah.
product in reference to community being part of a community, or because they're gonna pay eventually,
Because
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
in this case, the community is the product.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Hmm.
Or if you want to be a bit more granular, just like Facebook, the product of the Facebook are the users. So who is inside the community is what attracts those outside to actually come in, which actually happened in Noah, specifically during our mastermind dinners. We
Hmm.
noticed that in a couple of our runs, there are a lot of vendors that joined primarily to network with other agency owners, but
Yeah.
we've designed the dinner not primarily for networking with other non agency owners. It's really about being able to sit down and have a talk with a fellow agency owners who is on the same journey. So
Yeah.
when we noticed that, we added a filter in our sign up form that they have to check, before they can move on, where it says, I am an agency owner, and another one is uh, I am not a vendor, and local agency owners are not my target market. They can target
Mm.
agency owners in general, but local agency owners are not primarily my target audience, because again, most of the things that I tried to implement in Noah, or at least some ideas that I have there, came from personal preference, should I say, that
Hmm.
as an agency owner, I think this is how they would feel, in a sense that they'd want to be
Hmm.
sold that, I came to join to talk to other agency owners,
Not
not to
not
hear about
vendors.
another product
Yeah.
out
Oh
there,
yeah.
so that's why we're really filtering out, in a sense, just to take care of those who initially trusted us in this early stage of Noah. So yeah,
So
that's
let's
basically, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because I've definitely gone to events where all I'm talking to are not fellow like people that I want to talk to, but rather vendors trying to
Yes,
sell
yes.
sell their so yeah, it does happen, but these are the events where you kind of you can go in without
Mm.
being a member. But let's go to the second pillar, which is personal investment and influence, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when you say personal investment, as you mentioned or explained earlier, it's the community or the members of the community having a say on how the community should be,
Yeah.
um which is great, right? Because as I mentioned, it is you are getting buy-in from them.
Mm.
This is like it's a in customer support. It's like called voice of the customer, right? It's the
Mm.
feedback of what the
That's correct.
product should be. But then of course, like I'm just because voice of the customer is the one that I know much more about. But then again, not all feedback is relevant, or not all
Yes,
feedback is aligned to the strategy of the community. So how
that's
do
right.
you, well, first off, how do you ensure that people are engaged enough to give feedback on how the community should be?
Well, for one, it there's a lot of angles actually to look into there. But when it comes to how can we ensure that they're engaged, um, you really need, because again, most of us when we hear about the word engagement, it's really have a lot of people talking in
Mm-hmm.
your community channel, in our
Yeah.
case, the Facebook group and those kinds of things. But those are the things also that I have observed, uh, that it really depends on the market that you're serving as well. Sometimes, in fact, what I have in mind is if most of the agency owners, as the assume agency owners that have an operating agency, if
Mm.
they are, let's say, on that GC all the time, then I'm a bit bothered in a sense. Why? Because you should be running your business. I mean, it doesn't fit the typical
Mm.
profile of an agency owner who is really running their business.
So it's
So the
fine if I don't
quietness,
reply back.
yeah, I mean, in fact,
So they're
GCs,
functioning more as moderator 100% of their time rather than
yeah, something to that extent. And if you will notice, if you're inside, let's say, of the NOAA group, not the GC,
Mm.
GC, it's quite
Yeah, because
messy in a sense that if you're not paying attention or have checked within a day, then probably we miss a
oh
lot of
you
good
can you
discussion.
can miss ages and ages of topics if you just like like
Right.
if you
yeah.
knock yourself out, wake up in 4 hours. There's like whoa, back read. I
That's right.
really honestly like GCs are just for like in the moment conversation. Like, you're not like the moment somebody tells me, what's the phrase? Backread ka kasi. Sabi ko, sorry, no. Like, sorry, no. I'm not doing that. Like, if I missed something, that's it. Like, that's it. Like, I missed the sound of the tree falling down. I'm not backreading.
Yeah, those things. So in my case, it if you really want to know exactly how your community will run or should react, at
Mm.
least to begin with, then you really need to get a good feel on who you are trying to serve, really your customer persona or members
Mm-hmm.
persona that you want to serve, because everything else, at the end of the day, I, I can safely say personally that I'm quite obsessed, allow me to use
Mm-hmm.
that word, when it comes to asking the question, how can I serve these people better?
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of things. And that's why for quite some time, or should I say for a year now, I haven't taken any new member for the official paid member of NOAA,
Mm-hmm.
because I just really want to make sure that we are serving people as they join, or at least
Yeah.
there's a solid offering that current members can really attest to.
Right.
There are a lot of people wanting to join because the branding, or should I say the notoriety of Noah at this point, the suplados, that's the
Ooh.
suplado style. Not the suplad
Wow.
intentionally, but
Wow.
You
rather,
can't sit with you sorry, you can't sit with us.
or I'm not saying, it seems that that's somehow what's happening. It's like, when you ask feedback from others, that what do you think about Noah, it's like it's an elite group that's hard to get in. I said, what? Why? I mean, it's not hard
I
to get
mean
in. We're just not letting people in at this point. We're not
I
opening
mean
for
it
members.
it you made it so by not letting people in.
Yeah, by
But they can
establishing
join. But they can join the other
I'm
activities.
kidding.
the
Like
free
I'm not
mastermind. Yeah, yeah. They can.
I haven't been meaning to make it look like it is elitist, but sometimes you cannot control outside
Like the perception of yeah,
perception.
Yeah, yeah,
outside.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if it gives that, all I'm saying is you maybe you kind of did, which sort of brings me. I'm not sure if this is like the right time to bring around this question that I've been playing in my head since we've been talking
Mm-hmm.
about it. Because you said like how are you supposed to weigh the existence of a group if you base it on its community members when, say for example, if you, like, say the goal was we want to grow our community members, right? But I'm just gonna pause it like like an actual scenario. In theory, like, say for example, you have people who enjoy uh emo music. And
Mm-hmm.
again, this might not have an actual answer right now, right? Maybe you can say I'll answer that after discussing points 2 and 3. So you have like group who enjoys emo music, and when you say emo, like maybe out of your entire
Yeah, yeah.
village, you have 3 people enjoying emo music who are emo people, and then you say like we need to grow our members. But then again, you're like, how many people actually enjoy emo music? So why don't we just enjoy a couple of people? We say like maybe we can get them interested in emo music, but then people come in. So there's like you're now 6 people,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
but generally these people are not also emo, and they say, oh, I do like the emo music, but you know what would be nice if it also had pop music. Like
Mm-hmm.
then people would, would be more interested to join. Like when it's, and then they say, okay, let's keep it emo, but let's add a little bit more pop.
Pop.
But so
Yeah.
now you're introducing
Yeah,
this group that has more emo, a little bit of pop, 6 members, 3 emo, 3 people who like pop, and now there's like, oh yeah, let's go join this group. I like the emo, but I also enjoy the pop. And now you have like 20 people who say like, but we actually enjoy pop a little bit more. So now it becomes, so do you now make it, in order to serve the community, do you now listen to and are you forcing yourself to, do we evolve the group, or do we now are we still
Stick to
a group
traditional.
of
Yeah.
emo people listening to emo music? You know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah,
there
yeah.
seems to be like a push and pull, like who do you actually serve, or
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
the original members, the intent of the group, or the goal of growing membership, like sorry,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had a lot of time to think in between the two of you guys having that
It
conversation.
seems like it. It seems like it, Francis. But no, that's a very good question. Like, because I
Yes.
mean, we did say that within the community, you have to listen. Sorry, you have to listen to the community members, but you also have this initial idea of how it should be, right? So,
Yeah,
Jen, what
yeah.
are your thoughts about this?
Well, that's actually a very good analogy, should I say? And in a way, it
Emo
kind of happened
people.
also in Noah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why I said, it's a good training ground, or at least this is the phase where you really have to be well aware of what's happening. So, to answer your question, really, it goes back to step one on who you really want to serve. Of course,
Hmm.
basically you will somehow drill down on a set of demographics, but still there will be micro preferences within those demographics, right?
Yeah.
And there are really some challenges at start. It depends on how you're going to look at it, because of course some will look into competition on the same exact offer with, let's say, with
Yeah.
other communities, if you're selling courses or you're even selling the same type of solutions to other people. But yeah, I get where you're coming from, Francis, with regards to personal preferences. But what we've noticed in Noah, since our messaging is of course generally clear, uh, the people that attracts or get attracted to a community sometimes will also primarily reference their affiliation or relatability to to the core people who are there to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So for some people, let's say they relate to the main head, or the talking head in most cases, whoever the person inside is. So let's say if you want to attract millennials, and you want you know
Play
the
Backstreet
millennials to actually
Boys.
react. Yeah, put someone in the community. Let's say for in my case, I'm not a millennial, definitely. So if I'll be the face there, and we've noticed that in the community there are lots of millennials that we've
Mm-hmm.
accidentally attracted, you know, then I might put a community manager who is a millennial that would actually engage them directly and
Because they
have this
can
community
relate.
they can relate, or have multiple people that can relate to any of those demographics. The assumption
Okay.
there is the core base is that these are the users of your products, as a
Mm-hmm.
community.
As a
But
community.
it
So you're
really
Gen Z, Genesis?
1980s, 80 to be exact, 80. So
We should
it's
have just said
somewhat in
yes.
the
I'm
middle
Gen
of the
Z.
transition. So I can't really say.
I love how you're so confident saying that I'm not a millennial. I could think of, wait, Gen Z ka? But
Like middle of
I,
millennial and Gen Z, is it?
is it zillennial?
It's
Or
a mix
the
That's
eh.
other the
there
sorry,
wasn't
Yeah,
like a Z then.
the
yeah. And there's
zillennial, yeah.
a Gen Alpha yata, right, like right now. So I don't know about those
Mm.
things, but yeah. So that's how I look into it. But if let's say you really have a very specific persona,
Mm-hmm.
for Noah, what we've noticed is that most of those who keep on engaging us
Mm-hmm.
are people who have families or at least have a child to begin with. There's a
Mm-hmm.
specific,
Families.
yeah. So in a sense, I could say that there's a certain level of maturity and experience
Mm-hmm.
that the type of people that get attracted to Noah or at least engage more than once in Noah. Probably they've gone through a lot, and the younger one seems to be like they're still looking for the dynamics.
Purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, they still have the purpose, but I think it's really it depends on the engagement that they have. But in most cases, those who really stick with no are really business people, or at least have that solid decision that I
Or
will
you
grow
have
my
a
business.
keen
We're going to do an
interest
agency.
on
Yeah,
business or learning about business.
yeah,
And the,
that's
yeah,
right.
I get that because I will it's just like a good it's just like a good time to move to what was the other one? Um Influence. No,
Yeah,
it's fine. Like anytime that you guys feel like you want to move forward, but I was gonna say that this also spoke to me a little bit, but maybe more on in terms of membership because what attracted me to groups before because there was a time when the whole world was isolated. There was a time when the whole world isolated. Remember I started uh for a lot of people they seem to think that was the pandemic, right? But for
Mm.
me and a lot of people who apparently
Have it?
found the same passion was around 2011, 2012,
Yes,
2013 when we
2010. Yeah,
started
yeah, yeah.
yeah, when I started freelancing. And when I started doing that, I was working by myself. I was working at night. I was you're working by yourself at night. You're earning good money, but also not a lot of people seem to
No
understand what
socialization.
you're.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you socialize and you tell people that I work at this website called Elance. Oh, that's Elance, and stop laughing. And people are like, oh, what's that? But is that a scam? Is that legit? Is it part time? Is it blah, blah, blah? So I felt very isolated in what I was doing. So somewhere along the way, you found other people who are similarly, you know, doing the same thing located
Mm-hmm.
elsewhere, and then you all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, these are my people. And then you
You
just
have
sort of
common.
come together, and
Yeah.
hence I assume the various freelancing communities that got built out. I understand that because you were there when you were when Otis finally realized we have a load of people freelancing in the Philippines, and they brought like the Otis recognition thing, holding
yeah, yeah,
activities, and then they had the freelancing fair, which I believe is one of the first times that I met you, Jen. Uh,
yeah, 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 yeah.
right?
I
So,
believe so.
you
Yes,
know,
yes, yes.
yeah. So it can be just a movement that brings a lot of people who have like again similar interests, and I do appreciate that at some point is it the movement that controls it, but what I haven't said is like having somebody who's like who centrally figures in a membership. So I don't know, like should there be somebody who leads it? Because if somebody leads it, then somebody has more influence over the others. There you go, segue. uh,
Yeah. Well, it is true, of course, that it always starts with a movement because the interest there is just like what you have shared, right? That you've been isolated for quite some time, and then you see that, we gather because we have the same interest or passion in those things. And then what happened next is the movement really is there. People, a lot of different people talking to each other and starting to form their own direction, those kinds of things. And the challenge there is, if you're the one leading the community, you cannot control those mini pocket movements that are about to start, right? Especially
Mm.
if you gathered a big group right away. And that's, I think, most of the frustrations of many community builders starts to come in when they grew fast and they can't control all the conversation that is happening. In
Mm.
general, it's okay and that's good, that because the community is a group of people who talks to each other whether you're
Yeah.
there or not. Yeah.
Right.
But if this is directed primarily for, let's say, a business, or there's a business end of it, then you might need to really control the narrative within the community. At some point, you really have to, uh, you know, kind of herd them in such a way that, you direct them where they want to be. Now, it really depends on how you really frame your community, because of course, just like any products, which is going to the third pillar, the integration and fulfillment of needs. That's the base of it. That's why they joined, right? But in most cases, once they start talking to other people, either they get real clarity, or they get the shiny object syndrome again. Oh, that kind of work for me. How about, why
Mm.
not try it? Those kinds of stuff. So it really depends on how you frame your levels of community membership, should I say.
I
Okay.
kind of get the, I kind of get the the shiny baubles that
Object.
people throw in the way of, because interestingly enough, I see people who say they want to join a group because, oh, it's fun, people are, people are, or sometimes you, oh, you in certain communities that I will not name, oh, but there's a lot of celebrities who join, and that would be fun. But those are very superficial, and at some point when you realize that, wait, this goes a lot further than the fun, the games, the sparkle,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
then it no longer matches their, they're not actually
Their
willing to put in,
interest.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
because
right.
you realize a lot of groups have a lot of work lined up for people who join. Like, you have to carry your fair share to keep the group running, so it can't just be all
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
fun games. You have to do the kumbaya, like, you know
Yeah,
no, I was
I
gonna say,
agree.
like, at some point, some people, some, in order for some memberships to grow, you have to, invite somebody every month, or um, you have to host your own
Yeah,
group or
there.
chapter, or eventually you'll have to break
That's
off
right.
and form your own group and or chapter, or you have to host, or do something similar, right? Which involves
Mhm.
a lot of work, which again doesn't work for a lot of people. So, but
That's right.
I'm just saying, yeah. But
It
you kind
really
of have to
depends.
have the shiny things to get people interested anyway.
Well, to lure them into the direction that, as they say,
I love how
um,
you said lure.
yeah, lure. Really, it's pull them in, in a more
Yeah.
simpler way of.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But lure has this shiny thing there. Lure them in.
Yeah.
I get it.
Now, for me, when it comes to that aspect, it's okay to have those shiny things, as long as it leads them to the direction that is good for them still.
Hmm.
Because there are some communities that starts to lose the main path, where the point A to point B aspect of it, when they started to branch out into different offerings, when the main road is still not there yet, or they have few
Hmm.
people who have reached the other side. So that, it's quite difficult, and it's somewhat shooting yourself on your foot mismo, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
I think the
you should.
the what you did for Noah that I like that I really like was that you actually tapped the people inside Noah and you had a one-on-one conversation with them. And you did
Mhm.
ask us like why did you join Noah. And I think that's very important because, I mean, forming community, again, fulfillment of needs, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
best way to find out what the needs are is to really have this conversation with your members. So I really
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
that you did that with Noah, and you continuously do that. Like, we do have sessions, like apart from like the mastermind dinners, we do have sessions like the boardroom sessions where,
Yeah.
apart from the current things that we're dealing with and trying to
Mm-hmm.
get, you know, you do ask us, like you do get that
Mm-hmm.
feedback from us. And I guess that's the, like, that's the path to kind of make sure that you are fulfilling the needs of your members.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, as you have said, and even one potential mentor told me when I joined an
Mm,
incubation program, because we are, matched with multiple mentors, and then at the end,
mm,
the mentor will either choose us or we choose the mentor. It should be a perfect match. If it's not,
mm,
then it will be a different. Then one of the mentor there says, that's a good model, but that's not the type of business I want to actually enter into,
mm,
because humans, it's hard to please them. One person is already hard to figure out, and then you're gonna have
mm.
multiple stuff like that.
Yeah,
Then, so, and even if everyone is on the same path, on the same direction, but anytime they can change. So even if you have prepared all the right tools, bells and whistles there, it will not work. And that's where the challenge is in really building a community. Sometimes even with good intentions, at least, one, for example, one of our common friend Pen, right, all of a
mm,
sudden have a change of heart and direction. So, you know
yeah,
even if that person is really a strong contender, within the community, that's somewhat a pillar, should I say, but then again, change of
yeah,
direction. So, a lot of things can happen. So how about even the new ones, right, that are just joining and starting out? So it's a tough thing to enter into if you really want to build a community. You
Yeah.
really
yeah,
have to be obsessed.
And that was the interesting thing about communities. Like, central figures who pop out in any communities are always the ones who always kind of seem to be there. Like, they're part of every topic, every discussion, like every, let's just put together every medium. Like, they're in every Facebook post, or every um again, every topic, every community, every meetup, they seem to be there,
yeah.
which makes it seem like,
Institution.
yes, which is very interesting. And you kind of want that, hopefully, from everybody. But,
Yeah,
again, more importantly, not everybody can do that, because, you know unless you perfectly align
Mm.
with the community's goals or activities. It's very hard to sort of like really align your life. Like, I wake up, hi community, like, get out to work, like, look community, like, here's what we're doing, and then here's how our day is doing. It should be interesting to everybody, right? And, it is very relatable. For some people, that's only part of their life. But more importantly, like you said, sometimes there's major shifts where sometimes somebody who's like majorly present all of a sudden becomes not, like
Mhm.
a total 180 shift. So it's kind of hard to ask that from all of your members, because,
members. Yeah,
circumstances can vary.
Yeah, you can just keep your door open for them, anytime they want to go back.
Yeah.
And really,
But
if
then the flies get in. I'm kidding.
well, really, of course, it really depends on your model, but yeah, it's really a tough one. Yeah, I've studied a lot of community models in the
mm-hmm.
past, and even up to now, still trying to figure out what makes it tick. But at the end of the day, it's really knowing the people that you're serving. There
Yeah,
are some who will just join you and they're happy already knowing that they're part of your group. But of
yeah,
course, you say that, hey, in this group, people should be active in those kinds of stuff. Then you have to draw the line there at some point. So
Yeah.
be
I was just
because
gonna add.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna add one more. Have you ever? And this might be. It's probably a central theme. I also bring it up now. Some communities, because they have central figures that sort of overtake the the goals. because there's such a central figure that it sometimes somehow revolves around them. I've kind of seen that happen. I'm not gonna read too much into it,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
Well, that's something that I kind of deviated with
Mm.
Noah. In Noah, I don't want to be the central figure. I want to be part of the engine because I
Mm-hmm.
know it's more of like, yeah, I know where it should go. But in Noah, even from the very start, I told them that there's no guru here, there's no one central figure. It's really
Mm-hmm.
a community where everyone has a value to contribute, and knowing
Yeah.
that they run their own businesses. The goal here is to really be able to contribute, each one, knowing that even if you contribute everything that you know, it's not enough compared to the contribution of 10, 20 people that you'll be able to talk to.
Yeah.
So you cannot
I agree.
overgive those 20 people. Of course, some may not be as generous, should I say, but that's the premise of being part of Noah, is that you should be open to also share what you know, because really you're gonna still get more than what you are giving. So
Yeah, you
yeah.
give as much as you can, and I think Penny, as alone from from being members and being able to join the mastermind dinners, I think you
Yeah.
we've said been very helpful, been very fruitful. Insights alone,
Yeah, and so it's
so
alone during the
honest,
conversations happening where
Yeah.
you didn't go there for that particular insight, but hearing it from conversations, like conversations that are happening around, it
Uh-huh.
just sparks that idea. Okay, I
yeah,
haven't thought of that. It's really the conversations around the community that has been giving us a lot of, I guess, help, advice, insight
Yeah.
that is
The
helping us
even
run
the
with
nudge.
our own
even the
agency.
little things that
Yeah.
you didn't think would be so important, that validating experiences, like, oh my gosh, they go through the same problems we do.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's
Those
not
It's
just
things,
gonna be
those
us.
things.
us.
Yeah. Knowing that you have other people who you can, just talk to. Hey, this happening to me too. I mean, it gives you a certain level of confidence to keep on pushing
Mm,
forward. And we have
true.
heard that a
Very
number
much
of times
true.
during our dinners. And some of them really have, grown their
But there's also like a
agency.
part of it. I'm not special. I'm not the only one. No, I'm kidding. No, but really that that emotional connection that happens, that what I'm going through right now, someone else has gone through, and now you're
Yeah.
hearing words of encouragement. Whether of course, there's nuances between experiences and everything, right? But like hearing that they've gone, like they went through this. This is what they did, right? They've already
Yeah,
passed that part of that challenge during
that's
their
right.
Or
agency
when you
journeys.
recognize that somebody is right at that same journey that you went through. You're seeing
Yeah.
somebody like, oh, but sometimes I feel like I'm pretending to be like, oh my god, somebody with imposter syndrome, come here, let me give you a hug.
I think the
Yeah, that
idea of imposter syndrome will never go away if you're
yeah.
growing,
Yeah,
because you will always
totally.
feel inadequate, right? But if you feel like you're
I'm sorry.
confident already, like, it's kind of like, okay, you may want to check your bearings. Maybe you're not growing anymore
I'm
because you're
confident that I have imposter syndrome. It's that type of confidence.
Yeah,
But going
it'll
back to the
always be.
community.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead,
I mean,
Francis.
it's just going back from like, oh my god, I'm like this, I'm like this, I'm like this, and then going back to the other side, I feel like, oh, but I'm just me.
it happens.
So just going back to the community,
Yeah.
we've mentioned, and I'm just gonna wrap this up. Yeah, I'm just gonna wrap this up. So we've mentioned a lot of things. We've mentioned about membership. We've mentioned about getting feedback and personal investment from the people inside the community, and getting some influence in there. I think the third thing was fulfillment of needs, which is one of the reasons why you're doing this community, is to fulfill the needs of your members. That's why
That's right.
it's important to really hear and have these conversations between inside the community, so that you
Mhm.
know who you're serving, right? Who you're
Yep.
serving and how to serve them. And lastly, of
That's right.
course, emotional connection, which is, I think for us, for me and Francis, like apart from those little tidbits of things that we've been hearing, or that spark our interest during, networking events, it's really that emotional connection that, okay, we're not alone.
That's right.
We're
That's
We're
right.
not
not
alone in
alone.
this. Is like the biggest thing that's been lifting me up. Really, is that
Hmm.
we're not alone. Other people
Yeah.
are here to
I,
support
and
us.
I can literally point to several key points in my life where you found that happening, like shared emotional
Mm.
connection, like I said, circa 15, somewhere along those lines. And then and then again, of course, one of our dear partners in business, Pioneer, when we started meeting other
Mm.
community members as well. Just so you know, Genesis is where we met Pam.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Pam, Marge, and
That's
even
initially
Yeah,
where
yeah.
well, me. That's
I've
when
seen
where I met
some
Jen.
photos. Yeah, I think in the past I've seen.
yeah, yeah, then and then no, but I distinctly remember Pam in more than one way because
Mm.
we were invited to do like a how did Pioneer help blah 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 your
Yeah, a
business. We were
Uh-huh.
customer
invited to do a
video
video like that.
testimonial. Yeah.
Pam bursts out of a door and she goes like, "Oh my God, business moved to a different place. My God, tax, blah blah blah." And I said, "I want to be that."
Oh, everyone is gonna
Hi
meet
Pam, if you're
Pam
watching this.
because Pam is guesting in this podcast, so everyone is gonna meet Pam, and I'm just gonna show her what you just said. But everyone's gonna meet
Please
Pam,
do.
but
She's a
but
And
yeah,
I
that
remember
firecracker.
she was talking about like, oh, moving to Marikina, tax office, blah blah. I want that.
Yeah,
yeah.
And
So
that was
I
like
think
the
it will be a
start
fun
of
session.
yeah. Anyway, go.
Jen, just so we've kind of wrapped. We're kind of wrapping things up here.
Mhm.
Do you have any events coming up? Anything? Do you want to I guess plug Noah during this
Well,
If you wanna
podcast?
plug
Anything at all?
anything,
Yeah.
it's a perfect opportunity to let
Yeah.
people know about Noah. If you have other budding entrepreneurs or agency owners who want
mhm.
to join the dinners but not be part of Noah because memberships. No, 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 no.
The
And
dinner
this
is
is ano,
really more of a pre-qualifying activity for us because we
yes,
really
Mm.
want them to see what the culture is there. So if the person is really the type of person that doesn't really want to share what they know, then they will automatically opt out of the whole system, which is
Yeah.
fine for
True.
us because that's really not the type of people that we want in anyway. So, but yeah, talking about anything upcoming, it seems the conference may not be happening this year given the
Oh
limited
wow. Mm.
time that we have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
Although
do
we
have
can still
limited time.
insist if we wanted to, we're kind of used to that. 3 weeks before an event, we're gonna mount something. But I said conference doesn't deserve that type of
Yeah,
attention.
we wanna make sure that it's
Yeah.
yeah, that's
worthy.
So
That's
three
more
days before.
valued.
That's just a
Mm.
meetup.
yeah. What we have in mind, at least what we're working on or contemplating, because we need to have something still.
Mm-hmm.
Either the mastermind weekend that we did last year, which is also
Yeah,
a
the
November
training.
thing. It's a bit
Mm.
more intimate rather than a conference style.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely something like that, or
Okay.
another agency training day, which is just a half day, you know, training. Anyway, the
Yes.
branding and everything is all set, so that is much easier to actually roll out, right? So it's all
Mm-hmm.
there.
Well,
But
I'm
one,
excited to do the weekend or the training. Like any of those
Ooh.
will
yeah,
be
well, I
part of.
appreciate that, Ben. I appreciate that. But there's one thing that we're
Mm.
really sure that will be put out,
Yeah.
because this has been a long overdue thing that we should have put out for the longest time, which is the
Yeah.
foundation training for agency owners, those who want to
Mm.
actually get a good bearing on exactly what is this journey really all about. This would be more of like I don't want to call it a master class, but it's
Mm.
not even a course yet. If you're gonna look into it, it's kind of in between, But this will be released. More information will be released coming. This probably next week,
Yeah, nice.
because Noah kind of more into the ABC thing. I kind of use that branding ABC, more like the basics, but really it's about agency business class. It's a business class. That's how it is gonna be approached, not a master class or anything like that. Since we're talking about agency, it's about let's really have a business class on different segments of growing an agency, and this kind of opens the door for other experts to act who wants to also serve and share their knowledge to the agency people, that something like, okay, lead generation for agencies, we can have someone who can actually speak on that, not just about agency operations and those kinds of things. So we open that level of branding and direction so that it can hit more uh,
Mm-hmm.
needs, and at the same time it can address the business needs of NOAA at the same time. So
Okay.
that's the ABC. And even the conference, at least I'm going to say it here, um, initially the term that we have is agency conference. That's it. Philippine Agency Conference, something like that. But right now it's also ABC, Agency Business
Yeah, sure.
Conference. So
Nice.
That is very interesting. It means your head is obviously like bubbling with ideas, and there's a lot to come. And
yes,
we're
certainly.
excited we're excited to see that growth. There's a boom coming ahead, and we want to be part of that boom.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Another classic BPO show. But
So I just want to say thank you, Genesis. Sorry. Again, I'll do that again. I want to say thank you, Genesis, for gracing us with your presence and giving us a ton of
Thank you as
knowledge
well.
about building a
thank you,
community.
Jen. We appreciate you
Yeah.
always.
It
And
was a
Penny,
fun.
as much as we would love to go on and on and on about this, it feels like we should pick your brain again. So you have to join us another time. It can be the same topic, like just extend beyond. But
It
you're
helps.
obviously such a great guy.
It helps a lot. It's just there. Sometimes you just need to jug it or be challenged to pull
Yeah.
it out. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
sure.
course.
I'll be happy to drag everything out of you. So we'll have you again for another time. But for now, it looks like we've come to the end again. I almost always hate it. It's a bittersweet thing to come to the end and sort of like, it's the end, and then it's the end. But that is a wrap for today's episode of Outsourcing and More. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and YouTube. Please don't forget to leave us a rating and a review. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners like you, and you. If you have any questions, comments, or topics and suggestions, please email us at oam@virtuasolutionsos.com. Again, that's oam@virtuasolutionscom. We love hearing from you. And from us, this has been Penny, Francis, and Genesis. We are saying thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time on Outsourcing and More.
Mm. See you in the
Bye,
next
everybody.
episode.
We will see you in the next
Bye.
episode. Thank you, Genesis. Mwah. Thank you,
Thanks
my friend.
everyone.
You have a great day.
Subscribe to our podcast.
We also have a YouTube channel where you can see the faces behind the voices.
You can also find Virtual Solutions on Facebook and LinkedIn.
And if you've got a topic you've been wanting to learn about, let us know by sending us an email at
oam